So you are now tuning in to the latest episode of Templar Talks, or as it is otherwise known, Two Dickheads on a Table.
It's the same table.
It is
New
the
mic
same table.
stands,
New mic stands. This is the latest episode you'll be tuning into, but also the last episode of this season. No.
I didn't get the memo there. And the last episode, I'm being fired.
No, of this season, we'll be revitalising the background, the camera setup. Everything will be like changing for the next episode. We may skip December due to this, or we may end up doing a live show. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But the next time you see us, in theory, it should be a different scenery. Different. There might be more than one camera if I can get that sorted. We'll see.
Exciting.
Indeed. But yeah, we have a great episode today. It's going to be a shorter one because we have to shoot off. We've left it till the last hour, as always. Mm-hmm. We're going to be going through all the latest and greatest. So Pioneer has been ruined again. Thank you, Watsy. It was already terrible, but it's even worse now. We're going to be talking about if Ixalan has solved all the problems with Standard. The very healthy format that is Modern. I know we always talk about Modern, but we're Modern is our main format. Indeed. How the Ghent situation is going with the team, and of course we're going to be touching on our Movember fundraising stream, which is going to be happening this week. So if you're tuning in late, you're going to miss it. But it'll be the 25th and 26th of November. 2 RCQs, one at Athena Games, one at Skyward Fire Games, both casted live by myself. And Saturday I'm going to be joined by Raoul Zimmerman from Axion, who is an absolute beast of a player, to say the least. He was sending me his accomplishments to I requested them, by the way. This wasn't just an uninvited accostation of
Did you know?
Yeah.
I've done this.
But it was just to put it in perspective, it was too long to fit in a tweet when we announced that he'd be joining us. So he's a hell of a player, and it's going to be good to see his insights into how people are playing. And the day 2, I'm going to be joined by Ed, and not to discredit Ed at all, long-time member, one of the people that founded Commanders Templar as it was back in the day. But Ed was in fact the third choice because the other 2 people dropped out, and I wasn't supposed to be casting either, so I wasn't even the first choice for Skyward.
Can we name and shame the dropouts?
Oh no, we can possibly do that. I'm not that mean. Yeah, I mean he so to be fair to Poster Boy, Rocco, captain of Team Templar, he has been accosted into rowing.
Yeah.
When
we're second choice to rowing.
Yeah,
who would have thought?
Who wants to sit in a lake? But yeah, so let's kick it off. Pioneer, not a format we're personally fans of. I've seen a lot of pros and cons about the effect of the fixed cascade as to what it's done to Pioneer. Some people seem to be happy about it. Some people seem to be very mad about it. I think the happiness maybe comes from, oh my god, Pioneer's finally a little bit more diverse. The decks are new. But yeah, what's your kind of take? Have you seen much Pioneer bits and bobs?
Well, my only real thoughts are that Discover is reanimatable Cascade, which I discovered in Modern, ironically. I know it's Pioneer, but someone reanimated some kind of dinosaur that had Discover 5.
Oh, okay.
It ETB'd.
Was this at FNM or...?
This was online.
Oh, okay, sure.
I'm partly lying. It's a white lie. I wasn't playing MTG.
That's fine.
I was watching it on Discord.
I was hoping that someone had tried this at an RCQ at the last weekend. Some hero would just.
I mean, I'm tempted. They were playing. This was Smurfy. YouTube. Check out his YouTube. He was doing a league with Red Black Scam, featuring Persist, the Discover dinosaur, the 4 red, discard it, deal 3 damage, Discover 5, and the Troll Swamp Cycler from Lord of the Rings, reanimating it triggering Discover, and then just putting stuff in play. It was pretty wild, griefing off a Discover 5.
That's pretty good.
It looked pretty mad, and then he was playing Arena, my most hated video game format thing. Miserable.
I've been enjoying it lately.
And doing some combo with Discover there, where a Planeswalker comes into play, then it discovers cascading into a copy.
Discovering into a copy.
I'm trying to make it friendly for people who don't know what Discover does, and discovering another clone that copies it that then discovers again, and it seems like what they've tried to do by fixing Cascade is make it worse, better, more cracked.
Worse but better. I think in Modern and Legacy, I don't think it's better, because a lot of the power of Cascade is the fact that it comes off the trigger of cast.
Yeah.
But in Pioneer, where actually, you know what, it's probably helped the control decks, right? Like blue-white control, especially with that new Merfolk as well. Like that is probably going to be a good deck.
I mean, blue-white control was already a good deck,
decent, and now you've got make your creature vanilla on a stick, and I counter your Cascade bomb.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see. But you know, I know the recent, there was like a Pioneer showcase, a big Pioneer event, and the final was one flavour of Discover versus the other flavour of Discover that's found prevalent. So it's definitely strong. There's maybe an element that people haven't figured out how to beat it yet.
My fear would be with stuff like this is that it's slightly power creep, right? You're putting two things on one card again, which they love to do as like the soft power creep, where it's like, you had Colligan's Command, but guess what, now you've got Flame of Anor, but guess what, now there's 4 modes, 5 modes, Discover. That they're just, you know, and like Bowmasters, where you're just like, could you chill out? You know, it might have had Death Touch in something at one point, and you're like, can you stop putting stuff on the card so we can keep playing my Tarmogoyf? You know, where's my Tarmogoyf?
I mean Tarmogoyf's well placed at the moment, kind of.
Yeah, there is the power creep. I feel is by adding more stuff to cards, right? Magic cards now, if they're not a split card, or they have 3 modes, or you can play them 3 different ways, or we've made a location or whatever. I'm talking Lorcana now. That's a new Lorcana thing. That it feels a little bit like this Ixalan has brought a little bit of power creep to Pioneer, and if it doesn't have an answer, then a lot of things are going to get pushed out the way, which I don't think is a bad thing personally, because Pioneer's not really in a good place. But it's just as long as it doesn't homogenise into just top 8 of Discover decks, right?
Yeah.
But we'll see how it shakes out. It's early days. I'm excited because as we know, I don't follow spoiler season anymore, because I don't know there's a new set every week.
Yeah.
But it's made a little bit of a splash in areas that I'm mildly interested in. So I'm excited to see how Ixalan impacts Modern a little bit already. Seen some flavour, some spice for the red-black decks. But it'd be cool to see if it does anything else.
It does seem like this is obviously we'll talk about if there's hope for Standard momentarily, but it does feel like this is the first Standard set in a while that seems to have affected all format. Like maybe not Legacy and stuff, but it seems to have touched each format fairly heavily.
There's some pickups, right?
Yeah. It's, I don't know, in terms of like, it's probably the biggest shake-up to Modern since a Horizon set. Probably.
Yeah.
Or like a Lord of the Rings. I mean, Lord of the Rings was kind of a Horizon set.
So they get, like, you know, you mentioned Tashana's Tidebender, Binder.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of what's that? Avatar.
Oh.
The Last Airbender has Flash and Stifle. So we got that picked up for Rhinos, a bit of a Merfolk pickup,
it's
maybe even
Murktide
Control,
too.
Murktide. That's a nice card to kind of slot in there, and it's not busted.
Yeah,
it's 2 and a blue. It's not under 3 mana, so it's kind of fair in that way. It's not a big shake up. Maybe the Discover Ceratops or whatever it is that you can persist might be more prevalent, but still a bit of an outlier. But they're nice additions.
There's other cards as well. The card that Scam's been trying out instead of Terminate, that's sorcery speed.
Yeah, I think that's whack personally.
I think
it's a good thing to test.
Yeah. Merfolk itself has got that enchantment that goes well. I've seen a lot of Merfolk lists are now playing Rashad and Dockhand to tap down lands, and you get 1/1s for tapping down lands, so it's like still value. And then
that's a nice little
Spelunking
trick
as well for Amulet, I think that's awful, but people are trying it.
It's a spicy one of. Although I'd never want two, right? I'd never want to draw two.
I don't even
then
think
it's
I'd
redundant.
want one. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's fine, but it's also, I don't know.
Again, Amulet's a nice deck to have around. Wouldn't want it to disappear. So if they're playing it to try something out, I'm pleased it's at the tournament, right?
Yeah, Amulet's made a big resurgence, to be fair. It seems to be
But
done
I
well.
think that's just when you get the new set, right? People tend to not play Murktide or control Lee decks or decks that have kind of mid-range plans. They just revert to burn or your solitaire decks, right? Amulet's a solitaire deck.
Perhaps, but I also think it's an answer to the scam meta.
Maybe.
We'll pick it back up when we talk about the healthiest format around.
Yeah, and you can tell us how you found games against Amulet. Playing scam. Yeah.
So staying on Ixalan though, is that the shining light at the end of the tunnel for Standard? Are you now excited for Standard RCQ season?
I don't know. I might be shedding the shirt if I'm forced to play too much Standard.
I don't know. This is actually my own lack of research, because I do typically talk to the local store owners as much as I can and see what's going on with the plans. But I know Langdon, from Modern to this Standard season, are going with a quarter of the RCQs that they have been running.
Now, is that because it's Standard?
Yes.
Okay.
Specifically because of that. It's specifically the idea is that they're not sure that people. So obviously the idea, and this is my idea as well, dropping formats to force people to play Standard. But I guess the logic is, will people be forced to play Standard, or will they vote with their feet and just, because this isn't a situation where, like, what's you're dangling a product that everyone really wants and it's hard to say no because it's good value. This is kind of, you have to invest into a format for potentially one or two events. How much do you care? Yes,
and certainly my gut reaction has been, well, I'm not going to play.
I think I'm probably going to play a budget deck. I think that's my solution.
Yeah.
Like mono red aggro, or like mono blue aggro, something like that.
And again, this creates those pockets of metas, though, doesn't it? Where you basically have everybody is like, well, I'm not sure about it, so I'm going to play a budget deck. So you play 8 rounds of mono red mirrors. Yeah. And then there's one whale who's just like, I bought 5 colour Discover. Is that not what everyone's playing?
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. My main issue with it, if I'm honest, for like a logistics standpoint, is that our local stores' Standard events are on Wednesday, and if I'm going to pick up and play and practice the competitive format, I need to go to a Wednesday, but I can't really do a Wednesday because it's middle of the week. It's a bit out of my way.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to be attending any because I will literally be in Leamington Spa,
which drives drives people to the secondary place to play these formats, which is either Arena or MTGO, both of which I don't play Magic for the online formats or online portal.
Arena's easy to pick up. Like, as much as I know people prefer MTGO because it's like you can collect the cards, there's rental services, there's all this like tradability. Arena's an easier entry point because MTGO is like designed by
definitely.
Like it hasn't been updated in a decade.
But if I was, and I might be tempted because I only really play for stakes. The gameplay matters, right? It does matter. I do prefer playing Modern, but I slogged through plenty of Pioneer RCQs, which were not fun. So I might slog my way through some standard RCQs if my arm's twisted or I'm threatened with being booted off the team.
Yeah, it's almost like someone on the team came up with the idea of making people play RCQs, right? I think it was someone called Todd, maybe.
What, you mean the rule that if you don't play 2 in a season?
I think it was 1, wasn't it? Was it 1 or 2? 1. I don't know. But we had the idea of to make sure we all participate. Because the fear in honesty, is that no one will play standard, and we'll just have a team that no one's gone to the RCQs, which isn't really a good look. So I get the logic, but you're also proving the logic as well.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. I'll play, but in I will probably be trying to borrow cards. Right, I'm not that fussed. I need to be convinced that standard's going to be a format to play on a regular basis by WotC, by my local stores, make it desirable to do, because otherwise I don't see the logic.
Yeah.
Standard was such a well managed format pre-COVID. Even a couple of years before COVID, in Khans and Fates Reforged, there was regular attendance at the local game store. Pro Tours were played at Standard. Standard was played at Pro Tours. Nationals level was.
I mean, it didn't help as well that I think there was a Pro Tour or Worlds or something was Standard. There was a huge event recently that was Standard. And I think the top 8 was 7 of the same deck. You know what I mean? It was that level, everyone was playing Esper Legends or Legends, something like that. I'm ignorant and don't actually.
But
follow
also
Standard,
that drives the price up of those cards as well, and probably why Sheldred. I know Sheldred is obviously the money card, and it's the money card because it's playable in all those formats, but also Standard. Right? You couldn't play Standard if you didn't have a Sheldred, which is just bonkers, to be honest.
I'm not sure it was in that deck that did well. Maybe it was in the Cyborg. I actually don't know. But
do your own research. Tell us what is relevant in Standard, because we don't know.
Yeah. It would be good to figure it out and see how it goes. Though I mean, I'm hopeful. I hope the stores will. React in the same way as well, pushing it more, because
making it on a Friday. I think
that's the huge thing for me.
Standard F&M was the thing to go to 4 or 5 years ago, and if it doesn't
the glory days, basically, it's
but I mean, Modern was also popping on a Wednesday, right?
I think Magic is definitely in the toilet at the moment, to be completely honest. It's yeah.
Well, let's be honest. Hasbro and Wizards aren't in the toilet because they're smacking out Commander decks left, right, and centre.
Yeah. It's Commander Central.
Comp Magic is in a precarious place.
Yeah.
In Europe, anyway. I don't know about the Americas, but the US used to be.
We say in Europe as well. I think in specific European countries, it's doing quite well. I think Italy has a pretty stable scene.
Maybe. Oh well, they get the Legacy.
Legacy is they have the most Legacy events, so I assume they must have a lot of stores with a lot of support, and I think that's where Eternal Weekend's been.
That's what I was trying to say. The Eternal.
Yeah.
With the cards. What is it? Mental Misstep.
Oh yeah, all the sick promos.
DRC, which there's only got to be 8 in the world or something. And they're through the roof.
Do look cool. They do look very cool.
Ragavan playmat.
Yeah. But onto other formats, Modern. Obviously, it's a bit of a meme at the moment. A lot of people don't like Modern. A lot of people say that it's not diverse enough, which I agree. When you actually look at the stats, it is pretty damning. However, I will say that the top 8s of recent, I don't know if you've, because it was RCQ season, I've been looking at the decks. I've been more interested in what's been doing well. And the more recent lists and top 8s have had a hell of a lot less Rakdos scamming than you would expect. The numbers are still up in terms of people playing the deck, but it's not actually it feels like people are maybe starting to even in our little inbred meta, it has to be said at Langdon there were a hell of a lot of burn decks, and I think that's a reaction to, well, I can just 50-50 with you and I'll win some of the games and get there. And obviously Scales has been going on a tear, which
pretty handily beat Scam.
Yeah, I mean, so Phil and Michael Smurfy from the team both participated at the Axion Invitational. Unfortunately, it was so bad. They both had a win and into top 8, and they got paired into each other. So one of them was always going to miss out. It sucks. It is the way it is. So Phil won that match and made it into top 8, and came into Scales, and Scales beat Phil. Phil was on Jund Saga, but I feel Jund Saga and Scam both kind of have similar problems against Scales.
Yeah.
And that Scales player went on to win the entire event and didn't lose a single round.
Yes.
So, I think Scales is... If you're good at Scales, it's a deck to play.
It should be noted that the running joke is that Eric Zhao is my nemesis because he beat me to death with my own contract token. But it's pretty obvious now that Phil has a nemesis because the player on Scales was also the player who made him come second at his Megan Modern final.
That was the player he played in the final.
So yeah, Phil's got a bit of a nemesis now, which is exciting. Good to create these storylines.
These fake beef.
But yeah, Scales, the kind of... It's just insane against removal because everything is really sticky on the board and it can go tall or it can go wide.
And so Soul Cauldron's helped it big.
Oh,
as well.
definitely.
Soul Cauldron is gas.
Because you used to be very reliant on your one Ravager not getting picked off at the right time, but now when your whole board's a Ravager...
That's pretty good.
Oh, you killed that one? Okay. Let me just use these other three.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a deck that I would love to own again. I was a big player of Scales back in the day when it was Mox Opal was around. But I've just sold out of half my collection, so I'm not looking to buy any more.
That's fair. That's fair. But no, I mean... I understand that Scam is still a problem, and I'll die on the hill that I think Fury should be banned. I don't think anything else should go. I think people, if you think Grief is the problem, then shut up. Like, it's not. It really, really isn't. Like, no offense, but people don't like two cards being taken from their hands. But like, if you take away Fury, you can't play red-black. And you lose Fables, Rakavans, Bolts, Terminates. Like, that's why the deck is cracked. So, yeah, I mean, Scam is still a problem, but I don't think it's as much of a problem as people make it out to be. The problem is, like Burn, say Burn became tier 0, say, like, like when Death Shadow was really, really good. So Burn, like, had this, the best deck, likes to lose life. It's very easy to play. Like, that's the problem. I will say it's not the easiest deck to master. I think it's the same with Burn. Like,
it's got a high ceiling.
High ceiling, but also high floor. So the problem is a lot of people, unlike Murktide, which has a pretty high floor to actually have success with, people are picking it up and having mediocre runs, and it makes it feel worse because bad players can do well with it, myself included. That's why I was playing Scam recently, because it's an easy deck to play.
I don't think Scam is a problem, or Rakdos Evoke. I don't think it's a huge problem. I do think it gets free wins. I think it's probably one of the only decks in Modern at the moment that gets free wins from a turn 1 play, which is putting that Fury into play. Even Amulet's got an explosive start, but it's not turn 1. Putting the Fury in play and your opponent not having the answer usually wins you a game or two in a tournament, which is the difference between you
getting deep or
exactly. So I do think it has that issue, and I don't think I'm loath to say it's Fury. I mean, I know that's the ban that would probably fix the problem, but Fury's not a problem in a deck like Cascade, Crash, or Elementals. Like, it is
not to creature strategies.
Yeah,
like L. And I know.
But that's swingy. Yeah. Anyway, right. You've got to have an answer. If it's not Fury, it's going to be a turn 3 Anger or whatever, and they're not main deck, agreed. But the creature matchups are still going to get punished for playing creatures.
Yeah. It's more the ability. Specifically with elves, it is way too easy to like wipe out a whole.
Yeah, it's the early wipe. Wipe, the turn 1 or turn 2 wipe, where you just ping off a couple of mana dorks, does set them back. But equally, an early Teferi bouncing your opponent's Saga for 3 turns is those things happen in the game. I do think the issue is that the Fury sticks about and dings you for 8 every turn. Right, let's be honest, that's the problem with Scam, is that
but then again, I will, I know. So one of the games I played in the recent RCQ was like a very much like a non-game, like, and the opponent had the, you know, they were graceful about it, but it was very much the like, this wasn't a game of Magic kind of thing, and I do agree it's not, but equally when I get, you know, Cultivator Colossus into Titan into Dryad into Valakut triggers on turn 3 or 4, that doesn't feel like a game either. And it's the same with what's that combo deck I really hate? Scapeshift. Yeah, that doesn't feel like a game. We've just sat here, waited till turn 4, stared at each other, and then you've gone, do I win? Like, it's the same thing. Like, everyone has their own flavour of evil in Magic, right? Like, not everyone's gonna like control, not everyone's gonna like aggro. Some people hate burn. You know, I actually had this is a big throwback, but I almost quit Magic when I first started because of someone that used to be in the Athena community. And it was because I built burn, so I borrowed burn and I liked it because it got me hooked. So I built budget burn, and they were really nice to me, and then I beat them once, and then they were just like, oh, it's fucking shit deck, like, oh yeah, nah, any idiot can play burn. So I went out, I researched other decks. The other deck that appealed to me at the time, because it was so different to other Magic, was Tron, because it was like 1, 2, 7, that's so cool. So I built Tron, beat them with Tron. Oh, that's not a real deck, that's like not a real strategy, you should, So it's kind of like, if you gatekeep everything, no one will ever play the game. Like, you can't, you know, sit on your pedestal.
To make a counterpoint to kind of scape shift and prime time touching you in ways that are inappropriate, I think the issue with that kind of deck or facing those deck is you have an answer, right, for the scape shift, which is counter magic or whatever answer you have. You have an answer for the prime time, and if you have it in your hand and they do the thing, you riposte and you're like, I'll do my thing, does it work, right? And you feel like you've then interacted in the game and you've either won or lost, or they have another one and you're like, well, they just had it in their hand and they were always going to win. Whereas when someone scam furies you, you've got the terminate, but you can't cast it because it's turn 1.
I think that's
and then you take 8.
I think that's the thing, though, because I think it's actually, ironically, I know I like talking about Merfolk a lot, but I think it's because I'm a Merfolk player. It feels to me, when I play against Amulet and Scapeshift and those combo decks, it feels more like I have a chance against Scam because I can tide shape it, because I can subtlety it. I have answers, whereas a lot of the answers for Amulet, unless you have them, like, when it like at the end of the day, if Fury comes down, oh cool, I'll just tap it down a couple times, see what happens, like bounce it, what you know what I mean, like block with an indestructible creature. There's ways around it, whereas with those other decks, it is literally like Scapeshift, it's just like force negation, like you're just kind of fucked, like,
which makes you feel less like you're playing Magic because your deck doesn't do anything. There's only one card in your library that does it,
and especially when you can get an opponent to like 2 or 1, and then you pass and you're just like, well,
I tried.
What can I do?
But you're not playing Merfolk. Let's move on. You're not playing Merfolk. You are the filthy scam player in the room.
I am. I have for the last few RCQs I've played scam. Went pretty well both times. I felt pretty good about it. I think so the second time I played it was the last round of RCQs at Langdon, which I won, so that obviously went pretty well. I don't think I made too many. I can think of 2 or 3 misplays I made throughout the day.
Punishing or not so punishing?
One lost me a game in the semis, game 2, so that was punishing.
Tired in the day though when you're at the semis, right?
Yeah, it was hyper fixating on not giving information. So my opponent was on scam as a mirror, and they'd fort seized me, and they'd seen that I had like some lands. Basically, they'd seen I had 3 lands: a Black Cleave, a Bloodstained, and a Swamp, or something like that. And I drew a Black Cleave Cliffs, and I was obviously like, no, I can't play that because they know they don't know about that card. And I just slammed a Swamp down, and I was like, fuck, that was my 3rd land. And then because I was like thinking, I get to grief you next turn, the game's locked, like, you're screwed, because I'd fought season them or something. So I knew what they had. I knew I was good as long as I played the grief the next turn. And then I realised, I've got to wait till turn 5. And by that time, they top decked something, and you're just like,
that is
never
definitely
mind.
a tiredness mistake, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And then the other one, hilariously, again, fixating, was I was against Amulet, and I had game next turn, 100%, and I know I couldn't die. Like, I know I couldn't die, so it was just a case of, like, I just have to, evade a top deck ring. And they played Cultivator Colossus, which could have got them into the ring. And I had 2 mana open and a Bowmasters and a Terminate. And I was so hyper-focused on terminating the Primeval Titan, because I was like, that can't attack. If that attacks, I can lose. If it doesn't attack this turn, I don't lose, because lands can't. Yeah, and I just didn't play the Bowmaster, and Will drew like 30 cards, and then I felt so bad because he was on 3 life, and he had 2 bird encounters on the ring, and then at the end of his turn I was just like, Bowmaster for 1, pass back. Like obviously I did more than that, but and then pass back and he died anyway. But
that is pure bad manners.
Right? I know. I genuinely I didn't even. I said it to him at the time. I was like, I didn't see the Bowmaster in my hand. That's how obsessed I was with. I need to terminate this fucking Primeval Titan, because that's how I lose the game.
That is so funny.
Yeah,
just
but no,
watching your opponent resolve cultivator triggers and then going, what's your life total? 3, is it? And you got 2 bird encounters on the one ring, or I'll flash in this Bowmasters after your Cultivator Colossus trigger.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
Jesus. But you took it home, so that's poster boy. And what do you call yourself?
I don't. But yeah, me and Rocco are the 2 players qualified for Ghent so far from the Templar.
Are you finally going to wear the badge?
Yeah. Well, ironically, I don't know, because I did wear the badge for the first time the event before, and then this event I was in a rush and didn't, and I didn't have a playmat, I didn't have my trade folder, I didn't even have a bag. I literally just had my deck box.
He did look awful.
Yeah,
he came out of his house. And I wanted Stephen to drive.
Oh, I was eating a burrito. Yeah,
and he was eating a breakfast burrito, and he's like, I can't drive. I've got burrito.
Yeah.
So we got to the joy of being in
Chauffeur Gurney.
Yeah, Chauffeur Gurney. His new whip. Seeing him fumble with cruise control.
Yeah, but no. I mean, it was. I think Scam is a good deck, obviously, but I actually think I got very lucky, and I got unlucky in that tournament, in that I went undefeated in Swiss, and then I got paired into the worst matchup by a country mile in the top 8. And if I hadn't been on the draw, I think I would have lost that. And I got lucky to win it. Like, it was against Mono Black Coffers. I've never played that before, but it felt awful. It felt
Deck's
almost
real good.
Unwinnable.
Yeah.
But luckily for me, there was an Amulet player in the top 8 who kind of gate kept the burn decks, which would have been like a close, spicy one. So it was Amulet in the final, which was, I mean, I think that's fine. Usually.
You either have it, I think it's 50-50, right? You either have the advantage or they have the advantage.
I don't know. It feels slightly more scam favoured than burn does, to me at least. I'm more worried about burn than I am about Amulet.
From a theory perspective, I feel like you scam them, it doesn't really matter, because they rely heavily on lands and not so much spells, or you Fury on turn 1 and they don't have an answer.
Yeah. Fury is the dream there. I don't think I got to do... No, I did get to do it in one game.
Not like when Rocco won the RCQ and faced me in the quarterfinals, and then both games went turn 1 Fury, scam, and beat me to death twice.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Good interactive magic.
I let him win, man.
Oh dear. But yeah,
because I can't go to Ghent, or I can't...
You might be able to.
No, I've looked at Ghent. I can't go to Ghent.
You could, genuinely. I've looked at trains. I'm going on the Friday night. I'm only taking the Monday off work, and that's out of choice. The tournament is Saturday and Sunday.
We'll see at Skyward on Sunday.
Yeah, so we got
see
a few
whether
more.
I want to go.
We got 3 more RCQs coming up, so hopefully we'll get a few more.
Please tune in to watch me suffer.
Yeah, and on that note, we'll kind of wrap up today, because we've got to call it, as we said, it was going to be a short one to finish off this season. Hopefully you've enjoyed the new format of us two just waffling rather than random guests. We may get random guests back. Who knows?
And we might see you live in December, or
we might not,
and see you in January. The new year, we'll tell you our resolutions. It's probably to play standard, right?
Yeah, let's be real. But this weekend, if you're tuning into this when the video is live, this video should be going live on Thursday, the 23rd of November. If you are in the East Anglian area and you would like to play some RCQs this weekend, there are 2 available on Saturday and Sunday. There are very cheap hotels in Norwich as well, so if you want to come, stay over and do both. Skyward is hosting on Sunday in Lowestoft, and Athena Games is hosting on Saturday in Norwich. We'll be at both of them. Well, I mean, Todd won't, but the team will be at both of them. I'll be casting both of them. Unfortunately, there probably won't be a video about it because I'll be actually casting.
Yeah. You got to tune in live.
Yeah, and I don't know why I'm saying on this on camera because it's a hell of a fucking stretch to set up, and I'm worried about getting it set up, but I'm going to try and have it so I can interview players in the breaks live with a different camera.
Can we get Simon back?
I don't know. I haven't
with
heard
his
from
bow
him.
tie and his fabulous shirts.
Yeah, I'm hoping he'll be at the Athena one because it would be good to get Simon on camera. Yeah. I do like a little bit. Sorry, George Simon, not Simon.
2 first names.
Yeah. But anyway,
to put in 2 first names.
Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, we'll be back maybe for a live episode in December, maybe not. There will be an episode in January though, rest assured. We say it's going to be a vast change in scenery. It could be in the same fucking room and at the same table. Hopefully over Christmas and the time off I have will have given me time to actually make this look more habitable.
I'm looking forward to it because I only just heard about it.
Yeah, I know. I kind of dropped that on Todd. I mean, it's a month off maybe, or one live.
I mean, I could probably help him set up, but he's a bit of a lone wolf.
Yeah, I don't like help. It's It's every man's weakness or something like that. But anyway, thank you for tuning in. And we'll see you next time. And if we don't have an episode in December, have a good holiday period and
happy Christmas.
Yeah.
Or New Year.
Yeah. Or Hanukkah. Or whatever holiday you celebrate. Much love
that.
from all of the Templar.